whence the Dulcibella's taper mast could be seen pointing demurely heavenwards. "She's a splendid sea boat," said Davies, indignantly. "1,000 pardons," said von Brüning, laughing. "Don't shake my faith in her," I put in. "I've got to get to England in her." "Heaven forbid! I was only thinking there must have been some sea round the Scharhorn that day; a tame affair, no doubt, Herr Davies?" "Scharhorn?" said Davies, who did not catch the idiom in the latter sentence. "Oh, we didn't go that way. We cut through the sands, by the Telte." "The Telte? In a north–west gale?" The Commander started, ceased to smile, and only stared. It was genuine surprise, I could swear it. He had heard nothing of this before. "Herr Dollmann knew the way," said Davies, doggedly. "He kindly offered to pilot me through, and I wouldn't have gone otherwise." There was an awkward little pause. "He led you well, it seems," said von Brüning. "Yes, there's a nasty surf there, though, isn't there? But it saves 6 miles, and the Scharhorn. Not that I saved distance. I was fool enough to run aground." "Ah!" said the other, with interest. "It didn't matter, because I was well inside then. Those sands are difficult at high water. We've come back that way, you know." "And we run aground every day," I remarked, with resignation. "Is that where the Medusa gave you the slip?" asked von Brüning, still studying Davies with a strange look, which I strove anxiously to analyse. "She wouldn't have noticed," said Davies. "It was very thick and squally, and she had got some way ahead. There was no need for her to stop anyway. I got off all right; the tide was rising still. But, of course, I anchored there for the night." "Where?" "Inside there, under the Hohenhörn," said Davies, simply. "Under the what?" "The Hohenhörn." "Go on. Didn't they wait for you at Cuxhaven?" "I don't know; I didn't go that way." The Commander looked more and more puzzled. "Not by the ship canal, I mean. I changed my mind about it, because the next day the wind was easterly. It would have been a dead beat across the sands to Cuxhaven, while it was a fair wind straight out to the Eider River. So I sailed there, and reached the Baltic that way. It was all the same." There was another pause. Well done, Davies, I thought. He had told his story well, using no subtlety. I knew it was exactly how he would have told it to anyone else, if he had not had irrefutable proof of foul play. The Commander laughed, suddenly and heartily. "Another liqueur?" he said. Then to me, "Upon my word, your friend amuses me. It's impossible to make him spin a yarn. I expect he has had a bad time of it." "That's nothing to him," I said. "He prefers it. He anchored me the other day behind the Hohenhörn in a gale of wind; said it was safer than a harbour and more sanitary. I wonder he brought you here last night. It was a fair wind for England and not very far." "There was no pilot to follow, you see." "With a charming daughter, no." Davies frowned and glared at me. I was merciful and changed the subject. "Besides," I said, "we've left our anchor and chain out there." And I made confession of my sin. "Well, as it's buoyed, I should advise you to pick it up as soon as you can," said von Brüning, carelessly, "or someone else will." "Yes, by Jove! Carruthers," said Davies, eagerly, "we must go out on this next tide." "Oh, there's no hurry," I said, partly from policy, partly because the ease of the shore was on me. To sit on a chair upright is something of a luxury, however good the cause in which you have crouched like a monkey over a table at the level of your knees, with a reeking oil stove at your ear. "They're honest enough about here, aren't they?" I added. While the words were on my lips, I remembered the midnight visitor at Wangeroog, and guessed that von Brüning was leading up to a test. Grimm, if he was the visitor, would have told him of his narrow escape from detection, and reticence on our part would show we suspected something. I could have kicked myself, but it was not too late. I took the bull by the horns, and, before the Commander could answer, added: "By Jove! Davies, I forgot about that fellow at Wangeroog. The anchor might be stolen, as he says." Davies looked blank, but von Brüning had turned to me. "I never dreamed there would be thieves among these islands," I said, "but the other night I nearly caught a fellow in the act. He thought the yacht was empty." I described the affair in detail, and with what humour I could. Our host was amused, and apologetic for the islanders. "They're excellent folk," he said, "but they're born with predatory instincts. Their fathers made their living out of wrecks on this coast, and the children inherit a weakness for plunder. When Wangeroog lighthouse was built they petitioned the government for compensation, in perfect good faith. The coast is well lighted now, and windfalls are rare, but the sight of a stranded yacht, with the owners ashore, would inflame the old passion, and, depend on it, someone has seen that anchor buoy." The word wrecks had set me tingling. Was it another test? Impossible to say, but audacity was safer than reserve, and might save trouble in the future. "Isn't there the wreck of a treasure ship somewhere farther west?" I asked. "We heard of it at Wangeroog." My first inaccuracy. "They said a company was exploiting it." "Quite right," said the Commander, without a sign of embarrassment. "I don't wonder you heard of it. It's one of the few things folk have to talk about in these parts. It lies on Juister Riff, a shoal off Juist. She was a French frigate, the Corinne, bound from Hamburg to Havre in 1811, when Napoleon held Hamburg as tight as Paris. She carried 1.5 million in gold bars, and was insured in Hamburg. Foundered in 4 fathoms, broke up, and there lies the treasure." "Never been raised?" "No. The underwriters failed and went bankrupt, and the wreck came into the hands of your English Lloyds. It remained their property till '75, but they never got at the bullion. In fact, for 50 years it was never scratched at, and its very position grew doubtful, for the sand swallowed every stick. The rights passed through various hands, and in '86 were held by an enterprising Swedish company, which brought modern appliances, dived, dredged, and dug, fished up a lot of timber and bric-a-brac, and then broke. Since then 2 Hamburg firms have tackled the job and lost their capital. Scores of lives have been spent over it, all told, and probably 1 million of money. Still, there are the bars, somewhere." "And what's being done now?" "Well, recently a small local company was formed. It has a depot at Memmert, and is working with a good deal of perseverance. An engineer from Bremen was the principal mover, and a few men from Norderney and Emden subscribed the capital. By the way, our friend Dollmann is largely interested in it." Out of the corner of my eye I saw Davies's telltale face growing troubled with inward questionings. "We mustn't get back to him," I said, laughing. "It's not fair to my friend. But all this is very interesting. Will they ever get those bars?" "Ah, that's the point," said von Brüning, with a mysterious twinkle. "It's an undertaking of immense difficulty, for the wreck is wholly disintegrated, and the gold, being the heaviest part of it, has, of course, sunk the deepest. Dredging is useless after a certain point, and the divers have had to make excavations in the sand, and shore them up as best they can. Every gale nullifies half their labour, and weather like this of the last fortnight plays the mischief with the work. Only this morning I met the overseer, who happens to be ashore here. He was as black as thunder over prospects." "Well, it's a romantic speculation," I said. "They deserve a return for their money." "I hope they'll get it," said the Commander. "The fact is, I hold a few shares myself." "Oh, I hope I haven't been asking indiscreet questions." "Oh dear no. All the world knows what I've told you. But you'll understand that one has to be reticent as to results in such a case. It's a big stake, and the title is none too sound. There has been litigation over it. Not that I worry much about my investment, for I shan't lose much by it at the worst. But it gives one an interest in this abominable coast. I go and see how they're getting on sometimes, when I'm down that way. It is an abominable coast, I agreed heartily.